What are you guys getting? What have you implemented?
I've implemented a couple of smart plans.
Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So like for what? Like to do what types of things? Because I love that. I love
The
that you
month,
implement programs.
the monthly neighborhood nurture
Yes.
and the 1 year home anniversary.
I love it. I love it. I heard something really interesting the other day. They said if you're going to send a homeversary card, why not go into the tax records and find the home anniversary date of everybody in your sphere? Because they're going to forget that you weren't the one that sold them the house. If you send them a houseversary card, they're just going to assume that you were the agent and call you right back. I was like, ooh, that's kind of slick. See, those who get here early or on time, get the good stuff.
Did you teach a previous class?
I did.
Are you the one that gave us different verbiage for asking if they're pre-approved?
I did.
Could you please say that again?
Are you going to write it down this time?
Yes.
Okay. Have you spoken with a lender
Okay.
to determine
Uh-huh.
the best financing strategy to achieve your long-term goals? Have you met with a lender yet to determine the best financing strategy to achieve your long-term goals? And if they say,
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
of course, you're welcome. And if they say something goofy like, yeah, I went to Rocket Mortgage, with something this important, wouldn't it be worth your while to get a second opinion?
Good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Who else? What have you been implementing so far? I mean, how many weeks in? This is session 16. So you've been in here for a hot minute. And remember that the difference between education and entertainment is implementation. So what are you implementing? Not everybody all at once. Raise your hand. No? Okay. And actually do me a favor and turn on your cameras if you at all can. If you have ever taught to a screen full of just blank screens, although I have to say that I really do like Jamila's photo. Jamila's got a great photo up there. Thank you, Jamila. Turn on your cameras for me. It's so much nicer. Thank you, Artem. I appreciate that. Phyllis, hello.
Sorry, I'm driving. I can't turn the camera on.
That's okay. Please be safe.
I just want to do a commercial for tomorrow night because I'm teaching tomorrow night. So please come back.
Hopefully I won't be that bad that they will. Yeah, I'm filling in. I'm just gonna say I'm
I
filling in.
I know. We appreciate you for doing that.
Yeah, it worked out fine. Although I was a little worried about being able to get home on time because I live in Cleveland and there's never traffic in Cleveland. Like I've lived in Alexandria, Virginia. Day
That's where we are.
traffic. This is
That's
not
where
traffic.
my office is.
Yes. And I got to tell you, tonight there was traffic. There was a lot of traffic. Like, I don't know what the construction was, no matter which way I went. And then the last 2 days in a row, there's been an accident on this lovely little boulevard. It's a lovely boulevard. It's a nice straight road. It's got great visibility. And today, so yesterday, it had jumped the curb and was, head first into a tree. And so like the whole front of the car was crashing. And today the car was upside down. Like, what did you guys do? It's a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. So of course, it took a little longer to get home than normal. It was something else. Okay. I have got 6:05, so I feel like that's our, our professor. We gave you chance to get in here. So cool. Excellent. So, I'm going to be a little distracted with letting people in for a hot minute, but that's okay. We can get started. So,
I'm here, I got it.
you got it. Okay, thank you. I will let you do that then, and I'm going to minimize the participants and let you take care of that. Okay, so today we're going to talk about working with buyers and sellers, and where are we on this journey? And where we are in this journey is we talked about first winning the buyer and then winning the seller, and now how do we work with them? It's the service delivery piece. And the service delivery piece, we're going to talk about putting some systems into place. Whether or not it's in the content, it's going to be a little bit of a interesting what shows up here. But there's something about having your systems and processes that you do the same thing the same way every time. You get bored with it. That's the first time they've ever seen it. So keep in mind that you want to have a system and a process. When you do, and you follow that process every single time, you can never, ever get into a fair housing problem because you do the same thing for everybody every time. It makes it really nice. The other thing is you're less likely to forget something. You avoid what I call the 3 a.m. wake up, where, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to fill in the. My favorite story of that is my lender called me one day and said, hey, whatever happened with, the so-and-sos? Like, well, they're closing next week. He's like, really? Who's doing the loan? And I said, well, you are. He's like, you never told me they were under contract. Yeah. Have a system and a process and a checklist. I'm going to highly recommend, if you haven't done the session on opportunities in command yet, it wasn't there. Okay. It didn't exist when this happened. So, like I say, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book wasn't written yet when I was practicing. So the fact that I didn't do some of these things is not my fault. Gary didn't write the book soon enough. So, well, yeah, I was in those masterminds. So it took me, we had to get all that data collected. So where are we going to start today? Today, we're going to start with success with clients overall. Virtually every top producing agent that we have ever worked with has a deep and almost inherent sense of service. They have a servant's heart and place their buyers or sellers' real estate experience above all else. They are always thinking service. What does that mean? What do you hear when I read that?
That
Tammy?
you're there to help somebody, like give them something of value that they can be useful for them.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. Anybody else hear anything else? Because I think there's a lot here, right? Nobody else? I can just start calling on people.
Okay.
Man.
I was gonna I think everyone that's saying like everybody's had some type of job where they service, like I'm gonna use myself because I only know myself in this call. I'm a teacher. And my career is to service, to educate, but of course teaching is a little deeper than that when it comes to working with kids. So that's my form of service. And I think that thing is just basically everyone's had some type of work. Oh, I'm sorry, my alarm is going off to log in again. But it's to work in has worked in some type of service area.
Sure. Yeah. It's so funny because when I talk to agents across the country and I'll say things like, look, you really need to be calling into your database. You need to be seeing how they're doing. You need to be doing your forward calls. And they're like, I don't want to bother them. And I said, look, I didn't say show up with commission breath and go, who do you know that wants to buy or sell a house? Right? How about if we just said forward call, right? What's going on in your world that might cause a real estate problem that you need help with? Because I solve real estate problems. That's what I do. I solve real estate problems. When we reposition our mindset that we are solving real estate problems with a servant's heart and making a great experience for them, you will no longer feel bad about calling into your database. unless you're just mouthing the words and you don't believe them. So when you show up with a mindset of service and helping people to solve their real estate problems, it makes a big difference. Okay, somebody raised their hand and then put their hand back down. Who was it that raised their hand? Oh, Melania. Sorry. Melina, yes, ma'am.
Yes, it's Melena. I was just gonna say that when you come from a place of service, you're being selfless, and it's all about what you can do to help someone, no matter maybe they have a plumbing need, or maybe they have, an electrician need, or, some other need, because we have so many different relationships that we can share. But when you come from a place of service, people know that you're genuine because it's not about you, it's about them.
Exactly. Exactly. And we're providing a service that's very important and we should be compensated fairly for. I'm just going to say that out loud. A service that we should be compensated fairly for. And since when we go to a restaurant, we tip 15 to 20 to 25%, even if it's mediocre service. We are not overpaid, y'all. We are not overpaid when we come with a servant's heart and we work on making sure that they get the service that they deserve. Cool. Okay. Catherine, did you have your hand up or did you not mean to?
Yeah, I did, but I was just basically about to reiterate what she just said. Just having a service heart, because I was driving, so now I'm stable. Having a service heart is just calling people, just not to basically sell yourself, but just saying, hey, I'm just calling to see how you're doing. Mm-hmm. And not I learned this in a training class today where the guy was saying and at the end you don't want to say, hey, but if you're looking for somebody to buy a house, towards the end, you can just go with that. But just a call just to see how that person is doing and just, check in on them.
Exactly. Yeah. If you think about it with the Ford call, we're talking about family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Those are the only 4 reasons people transact real estate. So when we're doing the Ford call and we care and we're listening, we're going to discover real estate problems they need help with. So cool. Awesome. Thank you guys. So let's talk about agent-client communication. Obviously, it provides a strong foundation for sustaining relationships. It sets and manages expectations proactively throughout the transaction. I want to stop here a quick second. All conflict comes from unfulfilled expectation. All conflict with your kids, with your spouse, with people at work, with people in the office. All conflict comes from unfulfilled expectation. The same is true for your clients. The same is true. So having really good agent-client communication, I am going to tell you, no real estate agent has ever been fired for over-communicating. I have heard real estate agents complain, oh, I can't believe they didn't know that this was coming up at the beginning when they ratified. I gave them this 400-page document of all the things that were going to happen. How come they didn't read all of that? Well, because it's not their job. Our job, right? Our job to make sure that they know what's coming next. So keeping in mind behavioral profiles, some behavioral profiles want to know everything that's going to happen every step along the way. And so you should have a little roadmap of everything that's going to happen along the way. Yes, great. And it's our job to say, hey, you know what? Next week, this is happening. Next week, this is happening. The following week, hey, this is happening. This will be coming up. Here's what you need to do to be prepared. Let them know that peace of mind is huge. It also enhances your credibility so that they know that you know what's coming next. So there's 3 levels of service: purpose, value proposition, and fiduciary. So functionary versus fiduciary. I think we should stop here for a second because I suspect the reason that we are where we are with this NAR settlement and all that is that too many real estate agents have been out there acting as functionaries. And a functionary is somebody that can be replaced by a computer or a low-level person. right? Whereas fiduciary, and this is the interesting thing, right? The word fiduciary means acting in the best interest of. Guess what the word agent means? The exact same thing. Yeah, acting in the best interest of, putting all their interest above all others, including your own. Huh. Well, if we'd been behaving like this, maybe we wouldn't be in the problem that we're in. So dual agency. Now, there's an interesting thing about dual agency, and I don't believe that dual agency is something that any of us should ever do. And that is an Bryant opinion. It's not necessarily a KW opinion. How can you tell a seller, I am going to be a fiduciary for you and represent your best interests and do everything I can to get you a really great deal, and tell a buyer on the same house the same thing? I mean, what divorce attorney is going to represent both? Right? What fool would want to have the same divorce attorney as your soon-to-be ex? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, right? Let's not do that. So remember, you've got a fiduciary commitment to your client that some interesting things I think are going to be coming up, that you guys in this Zoom room right now have a huge leg up on experienced agents, because you're not going to know any other way. This is just going to be the way you do business, right? It's just the way you do business. You always get a signed representation agreement. It's always clear on how we get paid. We do not, bumble and fumble around about what we're worth. And this is how we get paid. If we'd been clear on how we got paid, we probably wouldn't be where we are today. But we're so, I'm going to make the X%. Is it okay, please? I'm like, come on. Right, I've always said, if you want to be worth more, if you want to get paid more, be worth more. People are willing to pay. And all you have to do to verify this is go look at all the expensive cars that you see driving around, because they could have bought something that would get them from point A to point B for a heck of a lot cheaper than a Mercedes or a Volvo or a, I don't know, whatever, right? Fill in the blank, BMW, Porsche, whatever, right? Fill it in. So we know that people are willing to pay for perceived value. I think the biggest problem is that we have not, one, demonstrated that we're not a commodity, right? And two, that we have true value that we add to the transaction. Okay, man, there we are. So setting expectations. Setting expectations is really important for the consumer, because all conflict comes from unfulfilled expectations. When we're setting expectations, we need to be honest about here's what I think is going to be coming. Here's the state of the market. Now, the state of the market right now is weird. Like, let's just get real. The state of the market right now is weird. That if you miss this price when you're pricing a listing by even a little, you've missed it. It's probably going to sit 60 days. If you, even if you price it right, like, it's just weird right now. And so I would probably be telling people, look, it's weird right now. Just be honest. It's weird. I have data to back it up. It's weird. This house looks great, priced right, should have sold right away. Look, this one, was priced higher and it sold right away. And this one should have sold right away too. And it didn't. Market's weird. That's okay. I'm here. An analogy that one of my coaches has used that I think is really valid is, think of me as the pilot of your plane, that I'm going to use all of my experience to navigate around, above, and avoid as much turbulence as possible. Sometimes we're going to hit some bumps, and that's okay, because I don't have a parachute. I'm not going to bail on you. I love that analogy, because it doesn't make people think that things are just going to be smooth sailing, right? Things happen. And I think hiding from the fact that things can happen is where we get ourselves, another place we get ourselves into trouble. So be clear in setting expectations with, what do they need to know? What do they need to know about financing? on the buyer side. And what are the pitfalls that could occur? What do they need to know about the state of the market? You know, we've all heard that, we've all heard that line that if you say that you looked at this house and you really like it, and you say, I want to sleep on it, somebody looked at it yesterday, slept on it last night, and is buying it today. Okay, well, we need to know that in today's market. And there's nothing more annoying as a real estate agent than a house that's been on the market for 45 days. And as soon as you get one of your buyers interested in it, it goes under contract. You're like, it's been sitting here for 45 days. Come on, right? So you need to tell people and be clear on the expectations. I think also be clear on expectations with sellers and the work that needs to be done when your house is on the market. There is work that needs to be done when you're putting your house on the market. That you need to, when you leave in the morning, the dishes need to be in the dishwasher, the sink needs to be empty, the counters need to be clean, the beds need to be made. Could you do something like having an award for the kid who needs to put all their stuff away, and that when they go through 5 successful showings that the house looked great, you give them a certificate for an ice cream? Right, like set expectations. Then understand the transaction process. I really wish I could get in and it's like, don't get pre-approved for a loan. Get your financing strategy in order, because that just sounds nicer. Partner with an agent. I have a friend who calls herself the home buying accountability partner. I'm your home buying accountability partner. I like that, right? You want to buy a house? I'm going to be your accountability partner through this process. So partner with an agent. And I think we need to start being much more clear on the fact that it's a bilateral agreement that we have to choose to work together. I would love to eliminate from our language, well, if you use me, no, please don't use me, because use me is too close to abuse me, and no thank you. So how about if we choose to work together? Now, one more of those little language weird things is people like to choose, they don't like to decide. And so if you want them to do something, use the word choose. If you don't want them to do something, use the word decide. If you decide to go with Rocket Mortgage, let me just explain some of the things that could come up. If you choose to go with my lender, get the difference? Right? You could decide to work with that agent that you got online, or we can choose to work together. And here's how I act as your partner in this process. Language. Language matters. Set clear search criteria. We're going to dive into that a little bit more later. Find their new home, make an offer, negotiate the terms, go under contract. Some places you ratify contract, you go under contract, you execute a contract in some places. You guys are all in different states, so it depends on where you are. And then there's vendor coordination, right? There's the things that we need to coordinate. We need to coordinate inspections and the lender and making sure that the appraisal happens and all the things. And then we may need to negotiate something from those inspections. Now we're back to setting good expectations again. What are we expecting to have happen during those negotiations? We get the appraisal, we have the pre-close preparation, the closing, and the post-closing. One of the things that I always did, well, I eventually learned to do, and then I did forever after I eventually learned it. That's probably a more fair way to say this. Think about what would happen if you made this process fun. What could you do to make this fun? So as soon as I met somebody and we decided we chose to work together, right? We're going to move forward. I would actually send a scratch off lottery ticket and a handwritten note card. And the note card would say, choosing a real estate agent can feel like playing the lottery. I know you win with me. I hope you win the lottery. So as soon as we meet, we're going to do that right away. So it's goofy, right? But that's okay. I'm goofy too. So it was setting clear expectations. I'm going to be goofy through this. We're going to have And if we're not gonna have fun, then why bother? I don't wanna do it. So I would send the lottery ticket, and it was so funny because people call and go, oh my God, I won $3. I'm like, I'll give you 2 more, you can go to Starbucks, right? Like, but they were so excited. And nobody else was doing it. It was really cute. And then, as soon as we got the house under contract, I would send a dozen cookies to them at work. So husband and a wife, send a dozen cookies, each workplace. Why did I send it to work? Why did I send it to work? Come on, one of you guys can figure this out.
Because
Why?
the coworkers would be like, oh my gosh, who sent you cookies? And they'd be like, my agent, she's the best.
Bingo. Yep,
Except the cops.
exactly. Oh, yeah. My husband's in the room and he said, he's reminding me that we had one client who was a DA and he says, ever send cookies to the police station. I didn't get a one. I'm like, well, man, not my fault. Yeah. So send cookies to her. I know, right? Thank you for laughing at that one. Send a dozen cookies, right? And then with that dozen cookies, a note card that says, congratulations on the first step to selling your home, you know, moving into your dream home, whatever that is. So we would do that. At the home inspection, we would show up with a dozen donuts and coffee, right? Because it's a little stressful. So great, we'll do that. We had a little branded flashlight and tape measure. Because, you know, while you're here, you don't need to be following the inspector around because they're going to give you a wrap up at the end. While we're here, let's measure all the windows for the window coverings. Let's measure where your sofa is going to go. Let's measure where the bed goes. Let's measure all the things. And a little flashlight because we're going to shine a light on the condition of this house. So I told you I was goofy. Let's see. What else did we do? Oh, I know what we did. Towards the beginning, we sent a letter that we got from our coach. And I think you can just Google it and find it. It was called the 84 Types of Turbulence letter. And these are the 84 things that could go wrong during a real estate transaction, but I'm going to get you safely through it. Oh, I know. One of the cutest things we did is right before settlement, we sent a letter. Yes, my ducks. We sent the ducks in a row letter. Thanks, Matt. We had a letter that had a border of like rubber duckies all the way around it. It said, time to get your ducks in a row for settlement. And it said, this is where you're going to go for settlement. This is a picture of who you're going to see because people are worried about it. It's a big deal for them. So here's a picture of the person that that's going to do your closing. Here's your checklist of things to bring with you. And then we actually included in there a little rubber ducky. And orientaltrading.com, we were able to find little rubber duckies that were secret agents. And so it's be like, don't keep us a secret, agent ducky. Okay. I got at least one of you to laugh. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate
Room
that.
is rough tonight, Pam. I thought that was us.
Well, actually, I saw that Christopher actually almost cracked a smile. Almost. Let's see. I got one in the chat. Oh, thank you, Lori. Appreciate it. It is a tough crowd, man. It's a tough crowd today. Okay. So you being clear on the process and what's going to happen is going to help lower their anxiety. What I like to say is somebody's really nervous and their shoulders are way up high around their ears. They can't hear you anymore. So bring their shoulders down, get them to relax, and then they can hear you better. And sometimes you have to tell them the same thing multiple ways and multiple times. And that's okay. It's our job. It's our job. Remember, we're coming in with a servant's mindset. Be really clear on your time expectations. Be really, really clear on your time expectations. This is how long these things take. How long does it take to schedule an inspection? How long does it take to be at the inspection? Like, how long does all this stuff take? How long does it take to find a home? NAR research says that it's taking about 10 weeks on average from start to finish. So wouldn't it be great to find them 8 weeks in? Not necessarily, right? Be very clear on your time expectations and help them to understand what happens in the process. It also gives us an opportunity to build on our value proposition and show the things that we're doing that we're helping them. Set document expectations. I always got my lenders to offer a credit at closing for anybody who showed up they don't do live loan applications anymore, but who at the time of loan application actually submitted all of the documents that they needed the first day. So I got my lender to give a credit for that, because what happens is that you end up chasing documents around, right? Because, oh, wait, what do you mean I needed my W-2? I shredded it. Oh boy. Or I haven't actually filed my taxes yet for this year, for last year. We hear that a fair amount, right? So set expectations about what documents they're going to need and when. We actually did have a client show up for closing without ID. Like, yeah, that one's not going to work. Got to go back and get your ID. Oh, he was an attorney. Yeah, it's like, you should know better. Come on, right? Be realistic in explaining expectations. And I implore you, I am begging you, never, ever send documents to somebody for electronic signature that you have not first presented to them on paper. Please. Oh, and that you've read. I mean, I know I'm asking a lot, but you should actually read the whole document. You should know what it says. I literally got to the place where I would hold the contract up and I would have it facing them and I'd go, okay, here's what we're going to do. Paragraph 1 is this. And I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at them. I'm making eye contact with them. Paragraph 1 is this. Paragraph 2 is this. Paragraph 3 is that. And I'd go through the key paragraphs. So they're like, oh, you know it. I don't have to worry about it. Correct? I do. I know it well. Because carpenters have hammers, we have paperwork. So be able to explain that, and please never, ever send something. Because if they end up in litigation because they're not meeting a deadline, they're not doing something, and they're saying, well, I'm not going to do that. And you're saying, yeah, but you signed it in the contract. No, I didn't. You did. Yeah, you signed it. Look, here it is. Well, I didn't see that ahead of time. I didn't know it was in there, because you know what happens? You send it to them, they go click, 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 done. They didn't read any of it. So don't do that. Right? Come from a place of service. Find out how they prefer to be communicated with. Phyllis is in the DC Metro. You know what? There's a lot of people who can't talk at work. There's a lot of people who can't get a text at work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that, you know, if you don't wait until after 5, or maybe you can catch them on a lunch hour, if you're really lucky, right? But you
They
need to
can't
be,
even take their phones into the building, many of them.
right, exactly. And there's no way they're getting a personal call on their work phone.
No.
That just isn't happening. So get clear on the communication expectations. I like to under promise and over deliver. So I always told people, I'm going to update you every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to let you know exactly what's going on. And then I would update them on Tuesday and Friday. Because then you're exceeding expectations. And back to, nobody has ever been fired for over communicating. Set contingencies. And by this, we mean, if you're not available, who is going to be available to help? If you are dual career and you have another job doing something else, please hire a transaction coordinator. Just do that. Hire a transaction coordinator to make sure that there's somebody who can answer questions during the day when you're not available. Plus, you're not going to miss an important deadline and get somebody into a lawsuit. So that's always a good thing. And then be clear with them on, you're signing a contract. I would never call it a contract initially. I would always say the paperwork. Let's get the paperwork out of the way. And then they need to understand, though, that you are obligating yourself to fulfill this obligation. You're saying, when these things are true, right? When my financing is approved, when the appraisal comes in, you're buying this house. And if you don't, you could be sued for specific performance, or at the least, lose your earnest money. Is there anybody that's out there dealing with appraisal gaps or any of that stuff right now? Are we still doing appraisal gaps in your market? We just had a lovely story here where thankfully it wasn't in our market center. The ask price was 1.8. They offered just about 2 million, and this is weird for Cleveland. Cleveland doesn't have $2 million houses, I'm just gonna say, right? And they did an appraisal gap. They just said, we'll cover the appraisal, and they didn't put a limit on that gap. Anybody want to take a wild guess what that thing appraised for? Let's just call it $2
900.
million sales price. What do you think?
900.
Close, 1.2. Wow. $800,000 appraisal gap. Luckily, they were able to get out of the contract and they only lost half their earnest money. The seller had every right to keep it all. Yeah, be clear on that you understand. Set up-to-date market expectations. Yeah, our market doesn't look like this anymore. I wish we had inventory like this. We don't have inventory like this. We had a mastermind in my office yesterday, and we asked, what's the biggest challenge facing agents in the next 6 months? Low inventory. Number one problem. We just don't have enough inventory. So being able to have powerful conversations with people about the state of the real market. And for those of you who are like, interest rates are so high. Look, my first house was 13.5%. We are still below historic averages. They are not so high. They're not. I mean, if they come back down, great. I don't know that I'd be promising that they will. All those people that promised a year and a half ago that don't worry, interest rates will be down by the end of the year. Really? I'm not an economist, and I don't play one on TV. Set your expectations seamlessly with your KW Tech. I am so excited that Ignite is combining Command and our KW Tech with this today, because our technology is so powerful. It will save you so much time that when you integrate it with your business right at the beginning, you win. I knew you would like that, Matt. Matt's our tech trainer. When you use the database, when you use opportunities, I'm going to just beg you, please use opportunities, because we've all spilled leads. We have all talked to somebody that said they had a real estate need and we forgot because we didn't put them into our opportunities, and they got lost in the shuffle. So please use your opportunities. If you aren't sure what that is, Marty Miller's 66-day challenge is amazing. And so is Matt, our tech trainer. So 3 steps to gaining referrals. And I'm actually going to give you another word change here. I don't remember if I did this last time when we spoke or not. Did I talk about the difference between asking for a referral and asking for an introduction? Did I talk about that before? I don't recall. I don't see anybody shaking their head yes, so I'm going to guess no. One thing we know is that while referrals are lovely, referrals carry an emotional weight that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. You can just as easily ask for an introduction as opposed to a referral. Just by changing that one little word, you will probably increase the number of introductions that you get, and hence the amount of business that you get. Rule number 1 is first provide value. First provide value. So do something that gets them to say, wow, thank you. And that is your clue. As soon as they say, wow, thank you, your job is to say, thank you for noticing. Thank you for noticing. Who else do you know that would like to have an experience like this? Now, I heard another dialogue the other day that I also thought was pretty good. And it was, thank you for noticing. One of the reasons that I have access to off-market properties and have more inventory for my clients is I ask everybody I know who they know who might be thinking about selling. So I'm asking you, who do you know? Either one of those works. Either one of those works. I did have a friend who, and at her initial consultation, buyer or seller, didn't matter. She set the expectation that she said, now on average, when I work with people, they are so delighted with my service that they introduce me to at least 3 people who need real estate help before we even close. And so I'm curious, do you think you're average, or will you introduce me to more than that? And she would do it with an absolute straight face. Every time I'm like, wow, that's pretty good. And son of a gun, man, she'd have people running into closing like, I got him, I got him, I got 4. Seriously? Really? Okay. Right? Like whatever it takes, y'all. Whatever it takes. You have to find the language that works for you. Find that language that works for you. Reviews. Reviews matter these days. They really do, right? People are going to look you up. You have to get your reviews, and to getting them to do a 5-star review really helps. I have had a couple people that very successfully did campaigns where they said, for every review that you give me before closing, I'll credit you $25 at closing. So it's 100% legal to credit your client money at closing. It's absolutely legal to do that. No violation in any law or anything there. And it gets them to do it ahead of time. I think the trick, though, is asking before closing. And asking the week before closing is best, because once they're into the moving and it's like pulling teeth. It's really hard. And asking at closing feels weird. I find a lot of people struggle with getting those reviews at closing. So put it into your checklist to ask for your review 3 to 5 days before closing. Just call them up and say, hey, I hope that you're having a 5-star experience. I've been working very hard to provide that. Would you mind giving me a 5-star review? And just asking for a 5-star review matters. Lori.
Yes, while you're on it, I'm wondering, how can I get reviews for a rental?
Ask them.
Yeah, but they don't connect to Zillow. I guess my issue, this is my first rental. It's pretty high price. And it's just good to get a rental from this person for specific reasons. But it's not connected to anything on the MLS. It was a non-MLS seller.
You broke up
So
there.
they paid for it to be on. I broke up?
Yeah, but I think I got it. So,
Okay.
All right, Matt came on because he's going to handle this one. I can tell by his face. Yes, you are.
First, let me recommend not collecting reviews on Zillow. The ones that really matter are where? Where do you think the reviews matter?
Google.
Matt, I know you're the tech guy, but I need something everybody other than commands. And I
What?
actually wasn't speaking about Zillow. This person actually just found it on Zillow.
That's
And
fine.
that's the only place it was listed. Okay.
You asked about reviews. You mentioned that
Realtor.com,
it's
etc.
not connected there. The property doesn't have to be connected to anything. And still, the best place to get reviews is Google, because people have to be logged into their Google account to make it a verified.
Mhm.
And then all you have to do is you take whatever reviews you get on Google, and then you can place them in other places, such as on command for your website. But the best place to get reviews is going to be on Google. And there doesn't have to be any connection to anything. This is just about your services you provide. It has nothing to do with that property per se.
I meant to preface the question with, this is for both you and Matt, and I knew you'd have the answer, and I never thought of that. And yes, thank you so much.
You're
I
welcome.
really appreciate that.
Can I say something also?
No. I mean, yes.
Of course.
So
Matt, my class, she can say it. Come
I'm
on.
sorry, I have an
Always.
Instacart.
Go
And
ahead.
my Instacart, I paid $99 a year. And then on the Instacart, there's a button that says review, like review me or give me a review. And it goes automatically to my clients and they find it so easy to do.
Great.
So it's called Instacart, if anybody wants to know.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, Google's great, right? Just ask, I think the big thing is one, ask for the review before closing. And straight out ask for a 5-star. Straight out ask for a 5-star. Even if you think, oh my gosh, maybe I messed up this one thing a little bit, but they probably didn't even notice. It bothered you way more than it bothered them.
How were
Okay.
they doing that though on Google? Like, when I had a business, they, could go to my business, Google Business and do a review. So do I have to make a business page on Google
I'm
in
so
order
glad.
to get the review?
I'm so glad you asked that question because I was going to finish off with make sure you have a Google business account where they can leave that review. You're not going to just go search my name and leave a review
Yeah,
from
okay.
Matt Purden. You need to have that business account, whether it is your name as a realtor or whatever the case may be. So get those business accounts set up inside of Google so you can start collecting those reviews. And people tend to trust a Google review more than anything else. They find it to be easier. And that also is just a link you send them. Again, like Pam said, get in the habit of asking, ask often, ask early. Same thing with those introductions. We won't call them referrals. Ask often and ask early, because you're right. So make sure you have those business things in place so that you can get those. I don't think, I see your Yelp in there, Jamila. I don't think that's the way to go. I don't know anybody that does it. So Google Business is free too. You don't have to pay anything for Google Business. You just set it up and claim your location. Your challenge comes into is when you're trying to use the brokerage address and somebody's already claimed it as a brokerage address. What I would recommend is putting like the brokerage address and like a letter A or B after it, so it looks like a different address, just so you can have the same spot. So they're not going to come looking for your suite B or whatever it is, and you just want it for the reviews anyways.
Yep, thank you. Awesome. Can you make a QR code for your Google business and provide that to prospects?
Yep, sure can. You make a QR code for anything, people. Anything.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, seller reviews, right? Same thing. Ask for, when you're doing a seller review, I like to actually be specific in the ask of what types of language do you want, right? Matt really helped me in choosing the right price for the right pricing strategy for my house that netted me the most money with the least hassle. Thanks, Matt. You're awesome. Right? The specific language that you're looking for is very helpful. You're going to notice I like the word strategy a lot, partly because nobody else is using it. And so I get to just claim it and walk in and go, hey, let's talk about your financing strategy. Let's talk about your pricing strategy that's going to net you the most money at the end of the day. Because one of my favorite things to do is to walk into a listing appointment and say, have you been talking to other agents about this house? Well, yeah, I get that. I respect that. I think, it's a good idea. Have they come in and wanted to tell you what your house was worth? Well, yeah. Well, that's interesting because that's the wrong question. I'm just going to leave that one there for a little bit and see if anybody bothers to ask. Thanks for the hearts, Matt.
All
right.
Pricing strategy, you're talking about trying to get them to change the verbiage, and your verbiage is pricing strategy because other agents are not using that verbiage. They're using what you just said. They tell you how much your house is worth. But together we can develop a pricing strategy so that we have a price that's fair and that will net you the most, yada, yada.
Yes, bingo.
Can I simplify that just a little bit in the aspect of, I would say the traditional method is to go in and tell them rather than include them. And a strategy is an inclusive aspect rather than here's what your house is worth. Not where are you going, what are you doing, how are you going to get there? Let's build that plan. So make sure it's inclusive, that they're part of it and they're not feeling left out of it.
Yeah, we're partnering, right? We're partnering on this process. And the other thing is that it's really easy to offend somebody when you say this is what your house is worth. Because it's rarely what they think their house is worth. And it's also really easy to differentiate because everybody else is walking in going, this is what your house is worth. I get to actually do it differently. Okay, give me some ahas. And you know me, I'm not gonna move on until I get at least 4, so let's go.
I like referrals, instead of referrals using introductions.
Thank you.
I think that is way more attractive, and it doesn't sound like you're like, who do you have? Who do you have? Who do you have? Because salespeople can come off a little bit pushy. And if you're asking for an introduction, because when you give them maybe a lender or someone that can do maybe a roof inspection or roof woodwork or whatever, you're doing an introduction. So if you just change your language, then I think that's a big aha for me, because I've always talked about referrals, but introduction sounds warmer and cozier.
Thank you. Yep, all right, who else? I can outwait you. I got one in the chat. School teachers, so having contingencies is definitely something to maintain credibility. Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you, Christopher. All right, come on, 2 more.
You want me to go again so we can move this process along?
I'm gonna see if I can get Catherine or Van or let's see, Jamila, Mona.
I have an aha.
I'll go.
Thank you. Okay, who said I have an aha?
Latoya.
Okay, Latoya, what you got?
So my aha moment today was sending over like the gift once they are under contract. That was a good way, especially sending it over to the job so the other co-workers can see, because it really hit home for me because I have a client under contract now, and she was actually a referral from someone, or an introduction from someone that she works with. And they're telling me how that's the only thing she can talk about at work is how she's buying this house. So to send something like that kind of really pushes, to the other coworkers, like, okay, this realtor is really on her game. Like, give me her number. So that hit home for me. So my aha.
Great, thank you. All right, there was one more person that started to say they had one. What was that?
Van.
Hi, Van.
Hi. So mine was like for that Google review and the Instacart. I haven't done any of that, so I'm gonna start.
Excellent, thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
that. Credit for having the paperwork all ready to go. 88 types of turbulence letter. Choose is good, decide is bad. Yep, absolutely. And Matt takes gifts to his listing appointments. It makes a difference. The little gestures really mean something. They really mean something. Yeah, and this is probably as good a time as any to say that showing up at closing with a closing gift matters. They notice. They notice. I can't tell you how many times somebody has said to me, and we did all this and they got like, I see how much money they made and they didn't even bring me anything at closing, not even a thank you gift. I'm like, well, did you bring one for them? No. I mean, honestly, our clients should be bringing us thank you gifts. And that's okay, because we want them to introduce us to more of their friends. So take a little something. And the problem with, I want it to be special and personal and just for them, means you're going to get busy and not. And you'll show up with nothing. So better to have generic closing gift that happens every time than to hit or miss, especially if your business is coming from introductions. Because imagine how bad you're going to look if somebody says, oh my God, and I got this really great closing gift, and then you show up with nothing for them. Ooh, that's a bad one.
Shouldn't that be a fair housing violation though? If you give or some kind of violation, I always thought that if you give, because you're supposed to treat everyone the same, and you give a closing gift to one client and you didn't give it to another, no, am I wrong?
So it's
No,
not,
it's a limit. I think it's a limit. It's $1. Isn't it $1 limit on that?
Nope. Nope. So
No,
you
I
can
understood
only,
it that we had a dollar limit that you can be in
hang on,
violation if you start
hang on,
spending too
Jamila.
much.
Hang on, Jamila. You can write off up to $25 for a gift.
Right.
However, you can write off whatever you want for marketing.
Because you are a realtor, you can use it as a part. Okay.
Yes. So you want your closing gift to be marketing. So you could do a cutting board that is engraved with their name and your name. That's marketing. You can Cutco knife
Interesting. I
that
just
is
talked to
engraved
Cutco.
with your name. Yep.
I just spoke to Cutco yesterday. They do like the engraved knives and like some kitchenware.
Yep.
It's really, really neat stuff. It can get really
is.
expensive though.
It is. And that's okay.
So you have to kind of limit yourself to see what works for your budget, but they do give price cut discounts for, you know, if you get like 10 or more. So there are options out there, not just them. There's so many other options to
You
give a
just want to
nice
make sure that
closing
it's
gift.
marketing so you can write it off.
Right.
The other thing that perhaps that Milana, I'm gonna get your name right at some point.
Elena,
Milena.
it's okay. It's not
The other
malicious.
point that you might be thinking about, Milena, is that we are not allowed to give anything of value in exchange for a real estate introduction. So if your friend says, hey, my friend needs to buy a house, you can't give them anything of value for that.
No, I was talking about if you had a client, you gave them a closing gift and they introduced you to another client who closed and you didn't give them one, couldn't that be I always thought it could have been considered some kind of violation because you're supposed to treat every single client the same.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, absolutely. It could be. That's why I just have a process that I follow every time. And everybody gets the same thing, no matter what it is. And so if you're shopping me for fair housing, it doesn't matter because my process is the same every single time. No problem. I'm all right with that because I know that I have got a process that I follow every time and it doesn't matter. Now, I'm going to discriminate against bad credit and no money. Other than that, I don't see anything. Okay, so cool. So what do buyers want from their agent? Actually, let me just go check this chat before we go off. Can a 50-inch TV be a closing gift? Just saw it happen. If it is somehow branded so that it's marketing, I mean, it could be a closing gift, sure. You just can't write it off if it's not branded because then it's not marketing. So sure, of course it could be.
Don't confuse your willingness to give with your financial tax liabilities. You can give whatever you want as a gift. If you want to write it off, then it has to be branded or meet the dollar amount because it has to fit a different category. You can give whatever you want. I mean, there are agents that just give and give and give and it is what it is. It's part of their business model. So, and it's not necessarily it's a cost of sale. So it's kind of lumped into all their expenses in a way. So yeah, just don't get hung up on it. It's good to know the fair housing stuff. Just don't get locked in on it. You're going to prevent yourself from doing stuff.
Awesome. Okay. So what do buyers want? What they say they want is help finding the right home to purchase. What I think they really mean is help understanding what type of house do I need to fit my needs. I think that's what they really mean. Because if you ask them, I'm actually shocked, and this was 2021, but I'm still really shocked because in my experience, most home buyers believe that they do not need you to find the home. They just don't believe that they need you to find the home. They know they need you to open the door because they can't get in without you. What they don't understand is that they need somebody who does more than take their order for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage on a 1/4-acre lot, right? And dig in deeper to what is it they really need in a house. So I like to use the language, there's a difference between the house you may fall in love with and the house and the home you love living in. The house you fall in love with and the home you love living in. Do you hear the difference? House you fall in love with, home you love living in. And we need to move past being order takers to being consultants. They need help with negotiating the terms of the sale. Yes, absolutely. They need help with the price negotiations. I think those are the same thing, but okay, maybe they see them as differently. And then other. Okay, I'm pretty sure I gave you guys my 4-question survey dialogue in the first session, and or the session I did, which was session number 2. If you didn't know it, go back and watch that video, because that's a good one. Needs analysis. Please keep in mind that needs analysis is not taking an order. Matt and I have a very good mutual friend that was complaining to me one day about, oh my gosh, these people have changed their mind like 4 times, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, well, did you do a needs analysis? Yes. Tell me about it. I said, you didn't do a needs analysis. You took an order. You took an order. You just listened to what they said and said, okay, that's not a needs analysis. You got to dig in. And things like, what are the non-negotiables? Okay, that's great, but I don't know that they know what that means. I love questions like, tell me about when you get home from work, where's your sanctuary? Where's that place that's yours that when you walk in, you're just like, this is my place. Where's that? Tell me about that in your house. Who's going to live here? How often do you have people visit? Do you like to entertain? Oh, a kitchen's really important to you. You know what? Describe that kitchen to me, because I'm married to a gourmet cook. My idea of a great kitchen and your idea of a great kitchen might be really different. I don't think we've ever bought a house that we just worked with the kitchen. I think we've renovated. Certainly not in the last 30 years. Since we've had money to do it, we've renovated every single kitchen, right? Like, so people say, well, you know, I say I need a nice kitchen, but what I mean by that is I need the space to make it what we want, because I'm not going to find the kitchen we want. It's just not going to, it doesn't exist out there. It doesn't exist out there. I don't know if I'd ask about a preference for the year the house was built. I would ask about a style. Is there a style that really appeals to you? I like when people visit your home, what do you want it to say about you? Any specific features? I like to get down to the top 5. What are the top 5 things that they're really looking for in their new home? And a friend of mine taught me, I'm gonna look for a pen. I almost always have a pen stuck on the table somewhere. Oh, look, I even have a piece of paper I can use. All right, I'm going to give you guys the simplest, silliest thing you have ever seen that actually helps home buyers make a choice on what home to buy. Oh, your pen's out of ink, babe. Okay. His pen doesn't want to write. Okay. Imagine this is a really neat 5x5 grid. Okay. 5 up, 5 across, 5 down, 5x5 grid. Got it? Just pretend that it's neat. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the top things that they're looking for in their new home along the side. So kitchen's really important to us. Backyard, very important to us. Location, very important to us. Primary bedroom, bathroom, and suite, whatever, that's really important to us. And it's got to have a finished basement. Okay, great. So house number 1, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play a game. The game is this. The first house we go to, we're going to have these 5 things we're going to look at. So we're going to look at the whole house. And then we're going to go to each of these spaces, and without saying anything out loud, because, you know, there's recording devices everywhere these days. Without saying anything out loud, you're just going to write down a number between 1 and 5 of how do you rank this house. So 1 being it's terrible, 5 being it's perfect, everything I was hoping for in the kitchen. We're going to write it all down. And then we're going to total it up. So the maximum score this house could get is 25. If we get to 20 or greater, we're gonna stop and go write an offer. We get to 20 or greater, we're gonna stop and go write an offer. And if we don't get to 20 on the first house, then we're gonna go to the second house and we're gonna do it again. Because if you don't help them to quantify how that house works for them, what's gonna happen at the end of the day is they're gonna get back and they're gonna be like, hey, you know, the one with the white kitchen and, you know, the ensuite and the big backyard? And you're gonna be like, wait, but the one with the white kitchen didn't have the ensuite and had a tiny backyard. Which one? Because they're all confused in everybody's brain. So it's the simplest, silliest thing. Cool idea. Thank you. I stole it from a friend. I can't take credit for inventing it. It works great. And if you have a client with a teenager or a kid who's, you know, coming along, it's great to put it on a clipboard and make the kid in charge of making sure that you get all the scores. Charisse, hi.
Good evening. Hey, when the example you just gave reminded me of ideas that I've written down for myself. So when I sold my home in California and was buying a home in Georgia, and the real estate agent down there at the time, we went out and we saw a bunch of the homes, and granted, she brought a copy of the MLS printout. And what I did is I identify a specific item to that particular home that helped me as well. So I'm incorporating that into my process. For example, one home I walked in, 3 stories, beautiful home. But the moment I walked in, I looked to my left, it was nothing but in the office, it was all Navy. So that helped me remember that that was a member from the Navy who lived in that house. Then another home had a jacuzzi, you know, so I've incorporated, you know, those little small areas that were at those homes, but that I didn't see at other homes to help. So in other words, I'm incorporating those little key factors in there. So
I love it. Thank you. All right, Jamila. Jamila. There you
My
are.
mic was not
It's okay.
working. I had it open for so long. So one question I have in doing the buyer's needs analysis, you know, location has come up. Quite familiar with my buyers. Some of them just don't want to be like out in the boonies and where they gotta travel over the river and through the woods to get to their home, and they're not locally, you know, they're not in a locale where they have shops and stuff nearby, the grocery stores nearby. But the inventory is not necessarily in those areas. I try to give them options. And what you're saying is really great. I'm foreseeing this as like having like kind of a vertical analysis showing side by side each one what are the pros and cons, or what points they have versus the other one, because some people may just say location is just what they need based on work factors or kids in school, what have you. And I've had quite a few people, I'm in Louisiana, by the way, I've had quite a few people have that as a major concern. And the houses that are being built or so have not been in areas, but you know, it's part of my job to find houses and find the inventory. Another thing is, it's just kind of totally off the grid. If the house has many factors that add up and they sound great, but what if they have like a very unique design that's kind of odd, doesn't really fit in the neighborhood? And I've had that come up with listing and buyers. And it's just hard to sell sometimes unless you have somebody who's just like, really, I love this home. You know, and I think that's what times I look for, that, I love this home. You know, it's hard to put that in a category by itself and not
so is the
get
question,
the offers that they need.
So is the question, what do I do when I have a property that doesn't really fit the neighborhood? Or what do I do when they...
Yeah, and I'm just talking about instances that I've had with buyers, but one of them is like if a property just kind of sits out there on its own, it doesn't really fit in the neighborhood. And it has all the other features.
Sure.
And everything they've described that they want. You know, I look for that aha, like they really, really love the home in spite of. If they don't, I'm like, I'm moving on. But then
And I would
sometimes on the
say,
listing side,
well, so let me just say on that, as long as the price they're getting it for will compensate for the lesser price they'll be able to sell it for. Right? So if you have a home that doesn't fit with the rest of the neighborhood, you are probably not going to command the same price as one that fits the neighborhood. So you want to make sure that you're going to get it towards the lower end of that price point, right? Because when you sell it, you're probably going to get less as well. So you want to make sure you're evaluating that.
okay.
There you go. Buyer's life change or buyer's world changes. Understanding really what they want to do. I saw something great the other day. It said that the first house that we buy, we get about 50% of what we're hoping for in a house. The second house, we get about 60, 65%. The third house, maybe we get up to 85%. And fourth house, we get what we want. I think a lot of home buyers have forgotten this. I really do, that they think, well, wait, if it's not perfect, I shouldn't get it. Well, the problem is if you don't get into the market and start building equity, you're never going to be able to jump into this market, right? So get something. I also think we should be talking more about house hacking and how people can get into homes. So let's make sure that we understand how to help people get into properties that you can use an FHA or a VA loan for a duplex, triplex, fourplex, start building some wealth, build equity up that way, get assistance in paying for paying for that mortgage. We can totally change their lives. Tough conversations equal fiduciary conversations. If you're avoiding a conversation, it's one you probably need to have.
Pam, can I
yeah.
ask you a question?
Of course.
Mentioning anything with mortgage is, I don't know if this is an obvious question or a very stupid question. Are we allowed to say that? Wouldn't we be giving them information about mortgage where that's not our jurisdiction?
It depends on what you're saying, right? So we can certainly talk about there are different options in mortgages, and we can have recommendations of good loan officers. You can absolutely say, hey, if you're going to use a government loan, you can buy up to a fourplex. You can say that. Of course you can say that. So long as you know that it's true. That's what I'm doing in a duplex right now. There you go. Way to go, Patrick. Fantastic. I think that we owe it to ourselves to know enough about financing to have good questions to ask and to help direct them towards the resources that will achieve their goals. And that's fiduciary. Now, you're not going to say, hey, you know what? I think you should get a 2-1 buy down and you should do an interest only. And oh no, you should do a 30-year whatever, right? Like, no, that's not our job. We have a loan officer that does that to be able to say, you have options and you should explore them, because your loan officer should also do a needs analysis as much as the same as you shouldn't take an order, they shouldn't take an order. And look, we've been USAA for, I don't know, a lot of years, longer than some of y'all have been alive. I would never do a mortgage with USAA. Why? Because they just take your order. They don't actually do a needs analysis and find out what you need. It's okay. Did that help, Lori?
Oh yeah, but I want to ask so much more, but I'll wait. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And then you're going to show homes based on the needs analysis. What is it that they said they needed? Okay, you're going to show homes based on that. Make sure that you know the inventory. I think it was Jamila that was saying that, it's just not necessarily a lot of inventory in the places where her buyers want to be. You know what? Door knocking is an awesome thing. Door knocking is great. Looking for inventory. So now we're going to do that. Show the best properties for your buyer. Obviously, although in today's market, like, we may not be able to do that. We may have to actually show properties that aren't exactly what they said they were looking for. Make sure that you have your pricing information and key details included in the disclosures. Mark the properties on a map and answer location questions. Be knowledgeable about the property and the neighborhoods. for all of you in this call right now, you should probably preview. If you're in a market that you can, you should probably preview. Get into that house before you take your client into that house. There's just so much to learn, and the more time you spend looking at houses and evaluating, learning how to evaluate them, the better off you are. Include recent comparable sales and then point out potential issues or concerns. I know an awful lot of agents who don't attend home inspections. I attended hundreds of home inspections so that I would be able to say, you know that wet spot up there? I don't know. I'm not an inspector, but that wet spot just doesn't look good and it's right below the window. Right? Or, oh, look at this basement. I was in a basement looking at a house the other day, and the walls were definitely damp in this basement, but they had been damp for so long that the bricks were getting crumbly. Do I really want to get you into a contract that we're going to need a structural engineer? Do I really want to do that? I don't know. I don't know that I want to do that. So, and be clear, you are not a home inspector, to Lori's point, right? You're not a home inspector, but what are some things for you to be looking for and understanding about properties so that before you go get them into 3, 4, 5 properties that they do home inspections and kick out because of home inspections, and they spend, I don't know, how much is a home inspection these days in your market? $500 times 2, 3, 4, 5 properties. Ooh, is that really doing your job? Okay, Milena.
To that point of previewing properties, would you preview a property and then once you do that, go back to them and say, you know, exactly what you said. You know, there might be some issues with this one. I just want to let you know before we go to see it. And then it might be something we cross off our list because there could be potential issues down because nobody wants to waste their time, you know? So is that part of your strategy when you're doing that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because I'm going to guarantee those pictures are not going to show whatever the issue is.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, we just actually had, and one of our agents in the office came in today and was showing a house, and she's like, something just isn't right in this basement. Like, just something doesn't feel right in this basement. So she went back, it had been flipped. She went back to the previous listing agent and said, what's with the basement? Like, there's just something doesn't feel right. She's like, well, was the crack still there in the foundation? And no. Well, yeah, there's a crack. There's like an inch wide crack in the foundation. It goes all the way across the foundation and up the wall. Was that not there? No. Huh. Well, nobody was in with, like, you know, big equipment fixing it. So these guys who flipped this house just covered it up. By the way, don't do that. It's a really terrible idea because it's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. But there's just something, you know, check the disclosures. Yes, absolutely. I would definitely check the disclosures for every home that you plan to show. It's a really good idea. And if something doesn't, if you go to enough of these and you're previewing enough, you're going to go like, something isn't right here. And that's all it was. Like, she literally said, something isn't right. And then started asking more questions so that she didn't get her clients into a situation where who knows what's going to happen? Their house fall down? I don't know, but I don't know what happens when the basement collapsed. Sounds bad to me. All right, Jamila.
Hey, so talking about strategy again. So if you got potential homes, you like number them 1 through 5 or whatever, and start with 5, or you start with number 1. That's my mentality, is that, you know, I won't start with the top one. I let them see everything that's available within their price range. But I don't want them to fall in love with
So
something and don't look at the next option that they have that could really be really good as well.
So generally what I do is, if I have 5, and I never show more than 5 because 5 is more than they can handle.
Yes.
Number 3 is the one I think they're going to buy. Number 3.
Okay.
So 1 is pretty good. 2 is clearly not quite as good. 3 is the one I think is it. 4 is not quite as good. And 5 we cancel. So we don't need to go because 3 was it.
Okay. So 5 is out of there. Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Good question. Okay, I think those were some of the things. Showing homes means agent interaction. Yeah, you're gonna have to interact with other agents. And now with the new rules and compensation coming out of the MLS, oh yeah, even more so. And that's okay, right? That's all right. It's good to start building those relationships with other agents. So, and please answer your phones. Or if you can't answer your phone during the day, could you put a recorded message on for agents that need information if you have a listing? You could do that. In the days when things were really, really crazy and lots of multiple offers, I was encouraging people that I coached to just have a recorded line that, you can press 1 for this, press 2 for that, press 1 for the property on Main Street, press 2 for the property on Elm Street. And all the information that the buyer's agent would need to make an offer would be there. The sellers want a lease back, the this isn't included, the whatever the things were, right, that were important to them. And now we're gonna have to do that with compensation. Home tour toolkit. It's definitely good to collect a lot of this stuff. Those little like Rubbermaid containers that have, like a big toolkit kind of thing you can do. Sanitizing wipes are always great. The paperwork is good to have some paperwork with you, especially now you might want to have some buyer agreements available, and most states have an agency disclosure of some sort or another. Have a couple of those with you. A map, like a real paper map, because you never know when you're going to be in a place without service. A little first aid kit, flashlight, a level is nice to have. Tape measure, office supplies, paper goods, toilet paper. I know it doesn't sound silly, but toilet paper is a good thing to have. Graphite for sticky locks, masks, shoe covers. Let me just say about shoe covers, I am very torn on shoe covers, because if you tell your client to put on shoe covers and they slip down the stairs and break their leg, are you liable? Because I think you're liable. I don't think the homeowner's insurance is going to cover that, but I'm not an insurance agent. You should probably ask, but I'm very about shoe covers. Business cards or electronic business cards, doesn't matter. Umbrellas are great. And we always had beverages and snacks, both for the adults and the kids, and then things to entertain the kids. It's just very helpful. Safety first, of course, when showing homes. Let the client go first. Don't get trapped in a room where you've gone in first and they can come in behind you. Just be aware of your surroundings. Have a system that somebody knows where you are and where you're going. And never meet somebody at a house the first time. Meet them in the office so that you get to know them. I've never thought about what to do if a buyer brings rambunctious children to the showings. Yep, have something for them to do. You're a school teacher. You can handle this, Christopher. I have faith in you. I know you can do it. But be aware, right? Be aware. Sadly, we're in an environment where you can't take for granted that people are who they say they are. A lot of MLSs are offering free access to things like Forewarn. If your MLS or your board gives you access to Forewarn, please look up every single person before you meet them. Look them up. It'll tell you their whole background, their history, their arrest history. Good to know. I know that Northern Virginia Board of Realtors gives you Forewarn. Ours does up here in Cleveland. So ask. And if it doesn't, ask if they could provide it. Trace.
Have you ever had a showing where you just invited or allowed let me rephrase. Have you ever had a showing where you just had the clients go in, walk around, just left them on their own to meal while you stand outside?
I think that you would be hard pressed to convince somebody that you were doing your fiduciary duty if you did that.
Yeah.
So check the person out, feel good about them, which is one of the reasons I really like referral-based business. Right? Because they come from people that I know already. So, and if not, go look them up. A membership to Forewarn is cheap compared to your life.
Yeah, true.
Are you referring to, out of curiosity, somebody you're not necessarily comfortable with? You're just gonna let them go in while you stay outside? Is that what you were asking?
Well, yes.
Okay, so here's my question to you. If you're not comfortable with it, why would you let them in somebody else's house not knowing what they would do? So,
Good point. Good point.
because you're responsible for that property when you open that door. So keep that in mind.
Yep.
And if you're not there to watch what's going on, then, and just ladies, yes, I'll genderfy this. I know many that take husbands, boyfriends, significant others with them on showings, and more so in particular communities where you know it's not as safe. So having a second person with you is amazing. And you guys, I know we talked about an open house as well. You should always have two people at an open house.
Always.
So
Why don't you
having
use
a having a
911?
bully.
So-
So having a bully next to your side won't do. A little four-legged bully, I should say. No, just kidding.
Well, you can't take him in the house with you.
Right.
Yep. All right. So our job is to sell homes, not just to show homes. So make sure that we're helping that my former Army Ranger husband is my bodyguard. Excellent. Yeah. Sadly, not everybody has a former Army Ranger husband. So, you know, and still be smart. Still be smart. Be aware, because there is no paycheck worth your life. Great information. I was just going to ask. Excellent. Thank you, Nicole. Reasons buyers hesitate. They're afraid to commit. They don't like some minor detail. They feel they haven't seen enough homes. They need to sleep on it. Ooh, this is one of my favorite, setting expectations. And I'm looking at time going, I'm probably like completely blowing this timeline, and I apologize because I didn't get a chance to do the normal prep that I would do because I was told at the last minute I needed to cover. I always set the expectation that the vast majority of my clients find the home they're going to love living in the very first time we go out. And the reason they do is that we've done such a thorough needs analysis, and I've asked you such great questions, and I know the market so well that I don't have to waste your time taking you out day after day after day after day looking at homes. I'm not going to waste your time. They don't care about your time. They care about their time, right? So I just set the expectation. About 85% of my clients actually find the home they're going to love living in the very first time we go out. Occasionally, it'll take 2 times and almost never 3. Set the expectation right up front. When somebody tells me, well, I feel like I need to look at least 75 homes. Really? What's important about that? Tell me more. Tell me more. Because ain't no way I'm showing you 75 homes, but you know, you don't say that part out loud. That's your quiet inside voice. When you're helping them with decision making, go back to their motivation, go back to needs and wants, go back to your little, grid spreadsheet, allay their fears. I don't know that I would say allay their fears. Solve their challenges, yes. Calculate the cost of waiting, sure. What we always did was we made the client sell the house back to us, if that makes sense, right? Oh, okay. Kitchen. This kitchen's a 5? Is it really a 5? Tell me about how you're going to work in this kitchen. How's this, like, sell it to me so that we don't get to the office and you have buyer's remorse. Again, that's my inside voice, right? But I'm going to say, tell me about it. Like, this is it? Really? This one really works? Tell me how this is going to work. Make sure that this is it. Because once they sell it to you, they're going to feel really stupid going back and saying, no, I changed my mind, because they sold it to you. Marion.
I'm very new agent. I just got my exam 3 weeks ago, but today I was talking to my friend. Before I become realtor, she was telling that she want to buy a new house to be like investment, and or keep the first one as investment and buy new house. So when today I called her, check about her, and by the in the talk I told her, so what about your plan before? Do you still need to find a house like this? And she said, no, not at the moment, because my kids love the schools like this. So my question now is now she hesitate to buy another house. So how can I, like, give her push to look for new house, and I become like her agent? Maybe the question is silly, but I'm still learning, I just 3 weeks
It's
ago.
okay. No, it's fine. It's not silly. So the first thing I would say is, what was it that caused her to ask you about it in the first place? So go back to, she asked you a question. What was it that caused her to ask that question? And then find out, is that still important to her? So I'll give you an example. I had a client, yeah, keep in communication and understanding the motives. I had a client that, oh, I need to sell my house. I need to sell my house. Okay, what's important about selling your house? Well, the school, and it's not the same situation as yours, but this example was, this school is not the best school for my kid. They're not saying that it's not a good school. They're telling me it's not the best school for their kid at this point in their life. And so, okay, are we ready to put the house on the market? No, I'm not ready. Are we ready to put the house up? No, I'm not ready. And they were never ready. I'm like, okay, how long are you willing to allow your child to go to school that's not meeting their needs because you don't want to clean out the house? But I knew what was important to them. And so, Marian, you have to go find out what was important that caused her to ask you the question in the first place.
Okay.
Good?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. Matt just put in the chat forewarn.com. All right, ahas. What are you hearing about in this section? What are you hearing in this section?
I'll go. I'm
Thank
hearing the aha for me was have them selling the house back to you,
Yeah.
because I would feel very silly if I told you all the things I liked and then change my mind at the last minute. So I think
Exactly.
that was the aha for me. It's like, well, you're the one, you said you really like this, da 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 da. So that was big for me. Thanks.
Thank you. And you help them quantify why they liked it, right? Not just, oh, I like this. Like, I decided I didn't like it that much. No, you gave it a 5. Come on. Right.
Right.
Yep. Thank you, Ebony. Nicole, what you got?
For me, I would say just the safety aspect, that just what you said about never let any of the buyers walk behind you or get locked in a room, because that's something that I actually wasn't thinking about, and now it makes so much more sense on saying that, because you never know, especially nowadays, people are evil. So now it's just insane how that never came to my mind.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. That's why we do it. All right. Who else has their hand up? Sharice, you got your hand up still?
Yes, I was gonna say the creating the cue cards for for them to rate each of the homes that you take them out to. That was like perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. I wish I could take credit for it. Sadly, that was one of my friends came up with that. Okay, did I get all the raised hands? I think so. Okay, let's talk about success with sellers, and thankfully they're going to be very similar. What do sellers want from their agent? Help pricing the home competitively, to market the home to potential buyers, to sell the home within a specific time frame, help the seller find ways to fix it up to sell for more, and a whole bunch of other. What we know is that sellers want to know a few things. How do I price my home so I get the most money at the end of the day? They're going to say, how much is my home worth? But that's not what they mean. So we have to be careful in language, because that's not really what they mean. They want us to market it to potential buyers. Where are we going to find buyers? Guys, we find buyers on the MLS. That's where the vast majority of homes are sold. It's sold in the MLS. It's got to get in the MLS. They want help selling the home within a specific time frame to meet their goals. They also want to minimize hassle. Let's get real. They want to minimize hassle. And it's really good for you to know what are things that sellers need to do in order to get the most dollars for their house at the end of the day. You need to know that if they put in a new bathroom, how much more money will they get? Well, if you're previewing enough houses and you see the one with the crappy old bathroom and you see the one with the brand new bathroom and the homes are virtually identical other than that, oh, this one sold for this, that sold for that. Here's my recommendation. This is nowhere in Ignite. This is just something that my husband made up years ago and we did it forever. And I promise it'll work for you. Very old school because we're old, but we don't have to go there. Get a notebook, like a 3-ring binder notebook. And then I want you to pick a couple of areas, couple of neighborhoods in your town and where you practice and print. You can, in most of our MLSs, you can print like 6 on a page, right? You can do like 6 houses on a page in most MLSs. I don't know what they call them in your MLS, but you can do 6 on a page. So do 6 on a page, as many houses as there are available in those neighborhoods. Preview every single one. And I want you to write on that MLS 2 things. 1, how much do I think this house will sell for? How much do I think this house will sell for? So it's on the market now. How much do I think it'll sell for? 2, how long do I think it will take? And then go back and check when it closes and see where you're right. Go back and check. And if you were really far off, which is possible, I want you to call the listing agent and say, hey, I previewed that house and I'm really surprised. Could you tell me how you ended up where you did? Ask the question. Just ask the question. And so please make yourself a pricing book. You will know more about the market in 6 months than agents that have been practicing for 6 years. Won't they, Matt? Come on, Matt, validate me here. Tell me I'm right.
You're right.
Thank you. All right, Gwen.
I don't know if I understand what you're saying. It's on the market. You want to, what would you pay for the house? You already know what they listed it for. So you're calling the agent to see why it sold for let's say 5,000 over what it was listed for, but wouldn't that just be because the buyer? I'm not following what. Maybe asking them why they priced it where it was, but I'm not understanding the rationale. Why would you ask them why it ended up where it did?
Well, first of all, you want to validate. If you want to validate, what price did you think it was going to sell for, regardless of what it was listed for? So you're going to look at it and say, okay, it's listed for $329, but I think it's going to sell for $350. But then it sells for $335.
Okay.
Wait, right? Like, I don't care what it's listed for. I want you to write down what you think it's going to sell for.
Okay.
And then validate that, because that's how you're going to learn pricing. You're going to know the market so well. You're going to be able to just match up buyers and sellers like nobody's business.
Gotcha. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking. So price plus time frame conveyance, right? That's really what sellers want, is how do I get the price in the time frame that I want, and how do we make this smooth for it to get all the way through to closing? Love that strategy. Thanks, Lindsay. I got 1 million of them. Are we changing sellers' lives change, or do we change their world? Great.
Can I validate you again?
Oh
Yes,
yeah, please.
Does have 1 million of them.
I do have 1 million of them. Yeah. Let's see, look, all you have to do is show up for Ignite After Dark, and occasionally I'm a guest and, you know, get to share with you some of my best stuff. So what does sellers control? Sellers control the price and condition. And it's always the price for the condition. Let me say that one more time. It's the price for the condition. Will somebody pay that price for a property in that condition? Right. Is price for condition. So sellers can control that. We need to have conversations. If you're finding that you're having a hard time getting your sellers to put things away, to keep the house clean, whatever, there's a few strategies that you can use. If days on market are long in your area, what I always recommend doing is showing them the competition. Put them in the car, drive them to the other houses that are on the market that look better than theirs for less sales price and go, this is your competition. Which house would you buy? Another strategy that we have, I'll get that in a second, Jamila. Another strategy that we have employed personally to great effect. I'm shocked you haven't been able to meet them yet, but we have 2 cats. We have 2 cats that generally want to walk across my keyboard, but there is a great truth in life. And the great truth in life is that litter boxes do not sell houses. You can write that one down. It's a truth. Yeah, litter boxes don't sell houses. And so what we do as our strategy when we are selling is, first of all, we never list it ourselves because you get too emotionally involved in your own property. So, nor does dog hair. No, exactly. So we don't list it ourselves. We actually co-list it with somebody else because then we have that uninvolved third person who can go, look, you're being emotional. Stop it. Like, this is what you need to do. Then we price it below where we think it's going to go because we want to get an auction effect. And I never want to overprice by even $1,000 in today's market. Like, you don't want to overprice by even a little bit because that's a kiss of death right now. We put it coming soon on Thursday, showing starting Friday afternoon. We move out Friday morning into an Airbnb. Friday morning, we move into an Airbnb with our cats and the cat tree and the cat boxes. And so there is no evidence that there is a cat in existence in our house. The housekeeper comes in, cleans the house, showing starting Friday afternoon. Short window of showings on Saturday, open house Saturday afternoon, open house Sunday. We move back in Sunday afternoon, review offers on Tuesday. We have used that to great effect. For people that their house looks like a picture, might not be a terrible idea. Look, you guys move into an Airbnb for the weekend. Let's get a housekeeper in. Yeah, you have a top agent that makes sellers move out while the home's on the market. That's what I do, just for a weekend though, because I don't want to do it forever.
They're out the entire time. And here's the best part. One of my team leaders, Kim Z, had her sell her house and made Kim move out. So it doesn't matter your status. This is her team leader in her market center made her move out the entire time it was on the market, just so it can be shown. It's easier to show when it's empty for showings. You can't make a mess. It's not disrupt once by moving out and be done. Now, I'm not telling you all to go and do that by any stretch of the imagination. This woman is amazing and she kind of scares me, so I'd move out too. That's a whole nother story for another day.
Yeah, I'd move out. I mean, okay. I have helped many people buy and sell homes, and I have bought and sold many myself. And you know what? At least move into an Airbnb for the weekend. At least that. Okay. So you want to make sure that you've got that great communication again for the strong foundation for sustaining relationships, sets and manages expectations, blah, blah. All the things we already talked about. Great. If a client violates fair housing laws, just remind them of the obligations. And then if you must, discontinue the representation of that client, report the incident to your broker immediately, fully document, right? If you're uncertain at all, talk to your broker immediately. Just talk to your broker immediately, because you will find that there are some people that want to do that. So don't. You're welcome.
Can you repeat that one more time, Pam?
The part about, oh, if you have somebody that you think is wanting you to violate fair housing, tell them, I can't move forward, call your broker.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Yeah, call your broker. Your broker will definitely have a good answer. So Jamila asked, selling as is, sorry, I meant to go back to this while we were on pricing. How do you determine pricing? Look at other properties that have been sold as is, and or look at the condition, what would it take to bring this property up to the condition of the rest of the neighborhood? How much money would it take to do that? Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, the condition with this particular home is they're older couple. They don't have all the provisions and accessibility to get somebody to come fix things for them. They're just ready for a quick move. They're ready to move in 30 days. My suggestion to them was, they were like, we're just going to settle for the lowest price we can. My suggestion was for me to just, like you said, look at other homes that are comparable and see what they priced it and what they sold it for, if they did sell it yet. Because I wouldn't just say, oh, just sell it for the lowest price possible. I want to give them the best price within reason.
Yeah. So if the average house in that neighborhood is going for 250, then, and it would take 50,000 to get it to that, then you put it on the market at 199.
Right.
Yeah. It's good.
And we haven't even done inspections. So that's, different things could come up. So I don't even know yet. Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
Okay.
New commission is worth your reputation. Remember our belief system, the Y4C2TES. I find that if you keep this in mind, it works for all things. It works for disputes in the office. It works for disputes with other agents. It works for, your clients. It just works. When we keep this in mind, it's hard to lose. Have a plan, a marketing plan for your listings. You can download a 14-step marketing plan for your listings from Command, right, Matt? Okay. You can list a 14-step marketing plan. You can go to Google and Google marketing plans. You can go to ChatGPT and say, what's a strong marketing plan for marketing listings?
I was just going to say that.
Beat ya. Got it. Right? Like you could do any of that. And what's that marketing plan? And then look, this is my 45-step marketing plan for selling a listing. Let's get real. Price for condition and exposure. You want to get the most people in. That's what's going to sell a house. The message you put out to attract prospective buyers and sellers is everything. Why would they want to contact you in this market? What would they get if they did? These two questions are at the heart of all effective messaging. Another way to say this is, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for? What is the thing that you can help people with? I help people make great choices in today's real estate market. That's a value proposition. So what's that message? Why would they want to contact you, and what would they get if they did? Oh, and please stop saying that, if you use me, don't do that. Yeah. Matt, you have something?
When, not if, when we work together, when
we work together, when we choose to work together, because it is mutually, it is a bilateral agreement, and I can fire you just like you can fire me. You what? I can fire you. I can fire you. We are the product first. Yes, we are, which is really interesting, right? So your listing reflects your brand. Make sure you get it right. Have the right documents for your region. Make sure that you use the right professionals to get pictures and floor plans. Set the right schedule. Please use an electronic lockbox. Up here, nobody uses electronic lockboxes. I'm like, you think you're going to put a combo lockbox on my house? No, you're out of your mind. There's no way that I'm like, how can you convince me that that's a good idea to put a combo lockbox on my house that anybody can get in anytime? No, thank you. Yeah. So understand how.
Can I mention something, please?
Yes.
Using the electronic lockbox, please make sure before you go there that you have all your settings, whether you're using iPhone or whatever, to where it connects to the Bluetooth. Because I stood up there for like 10 minutes. I always go early for my open houses, house showings or whatever. And I stood there minutes in the heat, and I was like, why is this thing not working? I didn't set the setting correctly, or it got offset some kind of way. Check everything before you go.
I would have combos on standby because there are areas that just don't have self-service. And since there's no, well, for us, Centric, doesn't have a card anymore. It's all done by an app. If you don't have self-service, it makes those things hard to work. Indeed. So yes, be mindful where and how you're using those locks. And yes, there's still the better lock, because at least you can track. You can't stop somebody from going in, yet you can track who went in if something's wrong.
Indeed. Yep, exactly. You can import your listing data directly from KWLS. So when you put your listing into MLS, it's going to import everywhere. It's going to import into Command. You can do all sorts of cool things with it that Matt has already taught you, and he knows it better than me. So I'm not going to say anything.
I'm going to
about
ask a question real quick about that.
Oh no, but Matt's here, so
mean-
he'll get me out. Go ahead.
It's just because both you and Matt are together. It's amazing. Matt, I was told that we don't have to do that anymore, that happens automatically. Is that true?
Don't have to do what anymore?
Enter it into KWLS.
Fair enough.
Yes.
We syndicate right from the IDX. You just have to make sure that your MLS is synced with Command. That's it. And as long as it's synced, it will bring everything in there, and you'll have access to it.
What do you mean by that, Matt? Synced with Command? In other words, how?
That's a tech
Yeah.
class, not a tonight class. Sorry, Laurie. And get with your MCTT or your regional tech trainer, your RTT, to get help with that. However, in short, if you're going into Command and you're looking for your listing and you can't find it, it's just the MLS is not syncing with Command. And there's a way to do that. There's a quick step, and the step can be found at answers.kw.com.
I was just gonna say that. Dang it.
Beach to it.
Paper change. You did, man. That's fine. Proper signage. Make sure that you have proper signage, that it has the data on it that it needs to have according to your state. If you're out there designing really cool new signs for yourself, please run them by your broker before you do that, and make sure that they are in compliance, because there's rules about these kinds of things. Okay, ahas. You know the rules. I need 4 before I can move on.
And I don't count as one.
Nope.
I'll go.
Thank you.
You said the price for the condition, what someone would pay for that price. Or that's what you said, something like that. I thought that was really good, because sometimes sellers might think that their home might be better than what it is, and they think it's the better condition than what it is. And even if you show them some comparables, it's, you know, it's like, well, mine is gold and theirs is silver. So I just thought that was one that, you know, what is someone willing to pay for the condition of your home?
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of like when the buyer's dad shows up and goes, I wouldn't pay more than this for that house. I'm like, okay, but would you sell your house for that today? Nope. Why should this guy? Sorry. I have to be really careful that my snark doesn't show up, and it doesn't always hide. All right, Nicole, what you got?
Just setting up the pricing book. I don't know if anybody brought it up yet, but I think that's a great way for me, especially since I'm new, just to like know the market more and get more knowledge off it.
Yes, thank you. That was exactly why we did it. All right, Melina.
Having the seller move out is brilliant. I mean, I would have never thought to do that.
Makes a difference. Yeah, the plan to, building your pricing book, Geraldine said.
Have that conversation at the listing appointment. Just don't show up on a Friday and, hey, you got to move out for the weekend. Expectations.
Right.
Expectations.
Exactly. And it's also good to have a mover that can do a staging move out, that can do the full move out, that can do the storage thing. Like, you need to have all these resources in your back pocket. Thankfully, there's lots of movers that partner with KW that do stuff like this. Okay, so just real quick, success with co-agents, cooperate, be polite, even if they make you crazy. It's just gonna happen. Just answer your phone. If you can't answer your phone, be really clear on when you can be reached, or another place they can go to get the information they need if there's a question. If you cannot answer the phone during the day, please get a transaction coordinator and do that. I'm not gonna ask for a Haas on one slide. Okay. Cool. So for the whole session, actually for all of Ignite, what are you guys learning, hearing, implementing from Ignite? And I'm putting on gallery so I can see everybody, like the 3 of you that have your cameras on. Thank you to those of you who do. I appreciate you. Christopher.
And again, I don't count.
There we go. All right, we're getting a few more cameras back on. Excellent. So give me some ahas. And what are you implementing? Because you got to implement, or you might as well, have just been watching TV.
Hello?
The home tour kit, sorry.
Oh, the home tour toolkit. I like that. That's great. Thank you. Okay, who else? Gonna implement that.
I'll go.
Thank you.
Just the overalls, each night taking how how all of you as instructors have broken the training structure down per night. It has provided me not only to break the cycles, to build the confidence, and each night bleeds into the next night, which also contributes to me learning every night and understanding the different techniques and just using those building blocks and pillars to be more successful.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Jamila.
Yes, so a few things like about the open houses, understanding that I should get them to sign in prior to coming into the house, and that can be done like using not the laptop, but my tablet, and initiating the process to keep it going more smoothly. Also something I learned outside of Ignite, but also related to what we talked about, is how to balance the marketing part of it and utilizing the tools we have. So we have quite a few tools, and I'm trying to get back into it because I've been using Canva for like the longest time. So I'm trying to get back into Command and using those design tools to help me out with some things. Also setting up my sphere and using my sphere more diligently and connecting with them in Command and setting those tags to go back and connect with them on a regular basis, connecting on Facebook, social media, make my 10 calls and my 5 connections, and also trying to set up, my goal is to try to set up 2 appointments per day, if I can do that. That's a very aggressive goal, but I want to emphasize some of the things that have been brought to me through Ignite and some of my other trainings to be able to do that. So that's
Yeah, generally however many appointments you have per week is however many closings you'll have that month. Rule of thumb, right? So if you have 4 appointments a week, you're going to have 4 closings a month, probably. So 2 a day, 10 appointments a week, 10 closings a month. Not a bad living. I like it. All right, Nicole.
One thing I'm definitely going to be implementing is the grid, to write the 5 needs and then do the rating from 25 being the highest and then whatever is lowest. And then something that I've learned from a different class, I forgot who was the teacher, but she said if you don't do something within the first 24 hours, you're never going to do it. So that actually gave me more of like I forget the word, but it just made me want to do things right away, because now that I have like a specific number in mind, like, okay, if I don't do it today, then within the 24 hours, you tend to forget because you have so many other things on your mind. So I started implementing that more into my schedule and just daily activities that I have.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Yeah, speed of implementation is real. I taught a business planning clinic. So I'm master faculty. I teach around the country. I taught a business planning clinic in Alexandria, Virginia, December of 22. And there was somebody in my class that took the class, and I talked about a method of farming that I made up, and I called it turbo farming. So it's accelerated farming. And she's like, you know what? That makes sense to me. I'm going to do that. She implemented it before the end of the year. By August of 2023, she already had 20% market share in her farm because speed of implementation. She just took action. Great. So absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. Ebony, what you got?
I'd like that the notebook to know the market and one of the things that I've learned from Ignite, I'm not a new agent, but I'm re-entering the market. I was licensed years ago, so I'm coming back. So coming back, and even for new agents, it can be very overwhelming with all the technology and just all the information that is thrown at you when you first come in. So the Ignite classes actually helped me figure out, okay, what should newer agents do first? And that was knowing the market, practicing writing contracts, and lead generation, and working with your sphere. So those things, because I was just so overwhelmed with command and I was like a squirrel. I couldn't figure out what to do first. It's like, well, why am I doing something that's very advanced as an agent when I should be focusing on, like, maybe I need to know the market. So when I do get a client, I know what I'm talking about. So that actually helped me. And that notebook, I think, was a big aha moment, because when you get someone, you already know, oh, I know that place. I've been there. I taught it already, or something like that.
I love it. Thank you. Awesome. Christopher.
Yeah, I was reminded of a conversation I had back in the late 90s with a college advisor, and I was working on my GPA to eventually apply for grad school. And I hit this number that I thought was good. And he looked at me and he said, why would any grad schools take that number when they've got all these applicants that have higher than you? And so I'm thinking, okay, based on what you said, even before you really get into working with the seller, if you drive around with them and show them what other houses that are on the market that are really done up well, I suppose it would be tough love to kind of say to them, but why would anybody want to buy your house when this one's available?
Exactly. Yeah. I can't tell you how many houses I have used, other listings that I've used to sell my listings. Because I go show them and I'm like, okay, we got to beat that. Like, we don't have to beat everything. We got to beat that. So thank you. I think that's really great point. So I just want to say that there's a Owens on the line and on the call, and he spells his name correctly with 2 L's. Way to go. That's our son's name. So I never understand how you get Colin out of Colin. Like, that would be colon, wouldn't it? Could be wrong. Okay, cool. Any other thank you for laughing at that, Melina. Anything else? Anything else? I mean, I can hang out for a couple of minutes if you guys got other questions, or I can let you get on with your evenings. What you got? Anything else? Going once? Going twice?
Yeah, I like the 5x5 with the mark it up here, kids. What do you think? That's good. I like that.
Thank you, Colin. Great. This was great class. Thank you. Yeah, make sure that everybody emails Alana and says, oh my God, Pam was the best, other than Matt. Like, make sure you say Matt was best.
I was going to tell y'all to make sure you did your evals at kweval.com for Pam, so she gets her credit for her evals. She is, by the way, folks, master faculty. I'm just an approved trainer, so she is the best.
Thank you. Yeah, KW Eval is where you can do my evaluation there. Will the presentation be out through email? Yeah, every week we're Alana's sending out all of the link to all the recordings on YouTube. So yep. You will get that. Awesome.
Pam, I need you to clarify which classes they are. A lot of the instructors really, they should, at the very end of both sessions, because you do 2 a night, just put it in a screen, make it easy for us. So we could screenshot it. A lot of us are taking this class under different scenarios. I'm doing open houses and doing it from a cell phone. And I just take a screenshot and I get back to it. So could you clarify which, and the battery died 3 times, which 2 classes you taught tonight? So I'm going to do it right now.
Session 16. Just one.
It's just one. That's my confusion. Working with buyers and sellers?
Yep. Yeah, it was just one.
Right.
I know.
Thanks
Last time
for
they made me do 2. Like, they gave me an easy one today.
Everyone has. Okay. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Everybody good? All right. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening, rest of your week. Go forth and prosper.
Thank you.